sense of urgency. There's no real reason for you to focus, to actually take every second of every day seriously enough to make changes. And that's why most people stay stuck. 99% of the world stay in the same exact position from where they were unhappy, and they carry that bullshit for the rest of their life. People always ask me, Phil, how do you take quantum leaps? I want you guys to understand, in every area of my life, let's go all the way the fuck back to 13 years old. 13 years old, that's 3 years after my family started doing the fucking separation thing. Dad cheated on mom, et cetera, et cetera. I went through a very dark time, okay? But at 13 years old, for some reason, if you remember myspace.com, I started Googling how to code things because bare fucking minimum, I'm going to have a nice profile. So I started learning how to code, and I started coding my MySpace page. So that way you can have like top 5, right? You have your 5 homies that you're going to make the top 5. And if you're not in top 5, then you know you're not shit to me. So I learned how to code that. And one thing led to another. That thing actually led me to start building my own website, my own online business. And then I learned that you can actually make money selling digital currency to people who didn't have time. And being a 13-year-old fucking kid, I had all the time in the world. And the biggest thing for me is we were struggling financially. It felt like I couldn't ask my parents for money because all the money was going away. We were literally losing everything. We had the fucking house, we had the boats, we had the motorcycles, we had fucking everything. And slowly, we had to start either selling or losing everything. So you can imagine, as a kid, doesn't really feel right asking mom and dad for some money. And you're always worried about money at that point because you're like, well, what the fuck's going to happen next? So I got very resourceful. I took a big risk that I didn't really register at the time being a kid, and I started my own business. But because my back was up against the wall, I was forced to take a risk, or I could have just been like every other kid and said, hey, fuck, my life fucking sucks, and this is what's happening to me, and so this is how I'm going to live the rest of my life. I chose to take control of the situation as best as I could, and that was Google searching my way into how to build a fucking business, which I did. One of my biggest deals as a 13-year-old kid was a $5,000 paid in full. That's how I bought my 1993 BMW 325i. Again, how did a fucking 13-year-old do something like that? How was he able to buy his car cash so nobody could ever take that away from him at 13, 14 years old? It's because I took a big risk on me, that I had this dream, I had this vision, I had this way of, I can see that there's a way to make money doing this thing that I'm already doing, and all I have to do is provide a solution to people who can't do it for themselves right now. I took a massive fucking risk. When I joined the military, the same fucking thing. Basically, from 13, 14 years old all the way up to 18, Jesus, the darkness that I felt in my life went crazy. I wanted to take my own life multiple times. Shit, there was a time where I almost did. And fortunately, somebody said the wrong thing to me that triggered in me my own self-worth. I started being worthy to myself. So in order to save my own life, I took a massive risk, and I decided to join the infantry in the Marine Corps. Out of everything in the infantry, I decided to be a machine gunner because I needed to put everything I was on the line. I needed to understand that if my mind was so weak, if my spirit was so weak, at least my body can show me if you're strong enough, because you literally have to carry fucking machine guns on your neck. I would say back, but fucking it's on your neck. And I took a big risk because I was worth that risk. I was worth the risk of, well, I'm either going to fucking die because I'm going to kill myself, or I'm going to fucking die in the infantry, at least for a good cause. One thing is going to allow me to self-actualize. The other thing is just me fucking giving up on life. I chose, and I made a promise to myself, I'm just not going to give up on my life like that. If I'm going to die, it's going to be for a cause. So I enlisted into the Marine Corps. And that was a big risk because, you know, you never know what was happening in the world. You never know what could possibly happen. Fortunately, nothing bad ever happened, and I was able to actually, you know, leave the military with disability because of fucking infantry and shit. And now I have a great family. But if I didn't take that risk, who knows what would have happened in my life? Who knows if I would have overdosed on drugs, if I would have got drunk and got in the wrong type of fight and got fucking stabbed or shot to death? Who fucking knows? All of this other shit could have happened. I could have been a shitbag. You may have not been watching these videos at this point because I would have never become who I am today because of the path that I took. Massive fucking risk that changed my life. When we think about me going into the corporate world, I got paid more than most people get paid after having 10 years under their belt in the same position. I took a massive risk and I said, I'm going to take what I learned in the fucking military and I'm going to bring it to corporate life. And so I valued who I had to become in the military, and I took a risk and put myself out there in Fortune 500 companies. And I said, hey, I'm this motherfucker. This is what I'm worth. This is what I'm going to get paid. Either you can pay it or you don't. That's all good. I'll find somebody who can. Massive fucking risk that paid off. I got paid, I think like something crazy, like $36, $38 per hour just starting off. Again, zero fucking real experience in the corporate world. That went to like $42 an hour. It's like $46 to $48 an hour, some crazy shit like that. All right. But I took a risk on me. I valued myself, and that's how I got what I wanted in life. I took a fucking risk. I could have got rejected. I could have been laughed at. But I was like, I know who the fuck I am. I'm going to take a risk on me. When that corporate position turned into going to a new company, becoming a business manager, again, never been a fucking business manager before in my life, but I was like, well, I mean, all we're doing is growing a business. So I associated growing a business with running a squad or being a leader in the infantry. It must be the same shit. So of course, pay me 6 figures and I will happily fucking build your business. Okay. That next thing led into the biggest shit show of my life. The biggest fucking risk that I couldn't even imagine like going into. Okay. My wife and I get into a major car accident. So we're all types of fucked up. I have nerve and tissue damage from my left side. My left side of my body literally contracted so much because of the collision. The muscles are all fucked up that my left side was about an inch shorter than my right side. It was all fucking weird. So I had literally, I don't even know what it's called. A stump? No, I don't think it's a stump. A fucking, I don't know. Something was fucked up with me. You know what I'm talking about. So I got into that thing, right? We were healing, and we were like, hey, you know what? Life is short. You're my person. Let's start a family, right? Because we're going to do life together. Life is extremely short. Again, we decided to have a baby. We didn't fucking know that there was a global shutdown en route. All right? But we got pregnant. So, I mean, there's nothing you can do to really stop that. After finding out that we were pregnant, then we started hearing the whispers of the global shutdown. So here's my next big fucking risk. I wasn't even a husband at the time. We were still boyfriend and girlfriend. I didn't propose to her until she was like a little bit more pregnant, okay? Because we wanted to do things right. But the biggest thing is I lost my job because I was the highest paid, obviously being the business manager. So I was first to go. The biggest risk that I had to take was fucking new dad, okay? I'm going to either be a shitbag fucking dad who can't provide for his children or for his family. Global shutdown, fucking everybody's fiending for a job. Everybody's getting fired. All types of bullshit's happening in the world. I got a wife I got to provide for, a girlfriend at the time and fiance at the time. I had to provide for that I couldn't because I was a shitbag and didn't really have all my shit together because of multiple other business ventures that failed. So I'm either going to McDonald's and like begging and pleading for a minimum wage job where I'm actually probably going to cause more stress to my family because of how much of a shitbag I was for the amount of money that I was making. Or I'm going to go all in, take the biggest fucking risk of my life and start making investments to learn how to go online. Guess what I did? I went all the way the fuck in. Okay, because if I'm going to go all in, I'm not going all in for fucking McDonald's, bro. I'm not going to go through all of this bullshit that I'm going to go through to self-actualize for fucking McDonald's. Not happening. So I went online, started making investments here and there. I started making money moves, okay? And again, at this time, didn't have a lot of money to work with because it all went down the drain for the previous company that went to fucking shit while I was trying to build it up during corporate. Wasn't working out that well for me. But this is how much I had to risk it all. $297 was a lot of money for me. $497 was a lot of money. $997 was a lot of money. The first $6,000 was a lot of money for me. $10,000 was a lot of money. $15,000 was a lot of money. And the thing is, I kept reinvesting back into myself, finding different ways to find the money to make shit happen. I made money moves. And people don't fucking get it. People are like, oh, I can't afford $100. And I'm like, well, you just don't want it enough. Go fucking die. I don't know. Like, give up. There's other people like me who are going to do whatever it takes to win. And so that's what I did. I risked it all. with a fucking baby on the way. And you know what what that did for me? That allowed me to really know myself. That allowed me to understand I'm willing to do whatever the fuck it takes for mine. If I need to provide, I will become whoever the fuck I need to become. And so 90 days later, I started making $15,000 per month. But imagine if none of that happened. If I just said, oh, fuck, the government's giving us free money. I guess I'll take that shit, whatever it was. I'll take that. And I was a fucking freeloader dad. And like, can you imagine the fucking life that I would give to my family if I didn't go all in, if I didn't risk it all in that moment? When people see my success nowadays, they see the awards for doing millions of dollars online. They see where I've come up. They see the car. They see the fucking Rolex. They see all this bullshit, and they're like, "Oh, Phil, it was probably fucking easy for you." No, motherfucker, it was the hardest fucking thing of my life. Hardest fucking thing of my life. But the point is, I took a risk. And people don't understand, in order to truly change your life, you got to risk it all. Because if you don't risk shit, you're not getting shit. That's just how the world works. You think that the most successful people in the world didn't risk anything to get to where they're at? They went all in all the time. They had so many different things coming at them, causing them and wanting them to fail. And they chose to continue to persevere. They chose to stay on the hard fucking path. And so I want you to know that if you want to have 1% results in your life, if you want to be able to vacation whenever the fuck you want, if you want to be able to give your family whatever the fuck they want whenever they want, if you want to be able to have some fuck you money or just buy whatever you want for the sake of buying it, or wear cool shit, or get the Lambo, or get the fucking house, or get whatever you want, you're not getting that if you're acting like the sheep of the world. If you're acting like the 99% of the world who's like, I want shit to be given to me, but I'm not going to work for it. If that's you, go the fuck all the way back to McDonald's or all the way back to your 9 to 5 and stay there. Because if you want 1% results, you better be willing to sacrifice and risk everything that the 1% has already risked. That's kind of what you have to do. That's kind of what every entrepreneur has had to do in their life. Every entrepreneur has had to go through the darkest times. And they had to continue believing even when they couldn't see the finish line. Even when they saw some fucking success and that shit fucking shattered again because of some bullshit, they still had to hold on to that belief and persevere. And that's why they made it. That's why they became big. But you can't even take that first fucking step. You can't even believe in yourself one time. You can't even risk the first fucking step. You think that your little itty bitty fucking risk in comparison to our risk that we've taken throughout our entire career means anything? You think because you risked one thing once, you risked like $1,000, $10,000, $50,000, $100,000 one time, you think you rate success now? The answer is no, motherfucker. You got to keep pressing. You still got to risk more. You got to do more. $700,000 plus. I'm pretty sure it's a lot more than that at this point. I'm just going to keep saying 700,000 because fuck it. Would you invest $700,000 into you? Do you believe that much in you? Are you willing to go all in on you? Because if the answer is no, then let's stack their cards. You want my success. You want what I have. You see what I have, but you're not willing to do what I did to fucking get here. If you want to be successful in life, you got to be willing to risk not only the money, you got to be willing to risk the energy, the time away from your family. Fuck, I lost so much time with my firstborn because I had to. I had to sacrifice that time so that way I could provide. Because a couple years, as sad as it is a little blip into the rest of her life that I could provide for her. The secondborn, I can be here a little bit more present, but continuing to sacrifice to provide. Do you understand what it's going to ask of you to have a 1% result? I don't think a lot of you motherfuckers are ready for that. I think a lot of you motherfuckers have this weird idea of what success actually is, but you don't understand. You're going to get the least amount of sleep you've ever gotten in your life. You're going to take the most fucking risks in your life, and 3 out of 4 fucking things will turn into nothing. And with the 1 out of 4 things that actually become something, if you stick around long enough to actually see that win, That's the game-changing one. But you got to go through the losses first, and it's going to happen. And you got to be good with it. And you got to be good with achieving a level of success where you finally feel like you fucking make it, fucking wall again. That's where you're really going to find yourself, motherfucker. That's what you got to understand. But if you stop risking, if you stop going all in at that point, that exact moment where you say, hey, I'm just going to hold off because it's more comfortable right now, is the moment you lose. That is the moment where you finally lost belief in yourself and as much momentum as you've built until this point. The moment you step back and you play it safe, you've now officially told yourself, this is my limit. And then you're going to have people like me that just keep pressing on, that keep pushing forward to keep earning the spot. Because just because you make it in the top 1% doesn't mean you stay there. You got to keep earning it because there's other young bucks, there's other entrepreneurs coming up in the space that are coming for the top spot. You really think this isn't a competition? It's all a competition. It's a competition of you versus you. And the more you win against you, the higher at the top you'll get. And that's what people don't get. If I beat me on a daily basis and I already know I outperform most people, then won't I have the top spot? But people don't get that. Most people are like, hey, I just, I'm going to try one thing. I'm going to try it inconsistently. And then I'm not going to get results. And then I'm going to blame everybody but myself. I'm going to say, oh, well, it wasn't my fucking time. Oh, fucking, it's the new year. Oh, it's fucking somebody else. It's not me. I'm perfect. I'm a fucking angel. No, motherfucker, it's you. It's you. You're not risking it all. You feel entitled to fucking success you don't rate. That's what you got to understand. If you don't want to risk anything, give up and stop trying to pretend like you're one of us. If you want to be one of us, be one of us. We will recognize. We will understand. We will see your hustle. We will see the no bullshit attitude. We will see you being the most vulnerable that you could possibly be with yourself and with the world. We'll see the hustle. We'll see the action. Most of you motherfuckers are just talkers. You just talk about all the things that you want in life, but we never see you do anything. That's what you got to understand. I don't see any risk, motherfucker. I don't see you risking shit, but you want all of the results that life has to offer you. I want you to understand, if you really want to change your life, especially if you got a family, I want you to look your kids in the eyes, make a promise to them that dad's actually going to fucking do something this time. By this date and by this time, dad's finally going to fucking do something this time. And now you just told your kids, it's either going to be the biggest fucking lie of your life while you look them in the eyes, or it's going to be the very accountability that you've always fucking needed. Because obviously you can't hold yourself accountable. So you got to understand, if you want to have a life-changing experience, you better put it all on the line. Aren't you worth it? Isn't the family worth it? For you to go all in, bet, and go all in on you? When's the last time you did that? It's probably been a minute. If you want to change, I want you to leave this with this thought. What is that big fucking decision in your life right now? What is that one bet on you that you've been holding yourself back, that you found every fucking excuse not to make that bet? What is that bet? Is it starting your business? Is it putting yourself out there on social media? Is it having a hard conversation with your wife? Is it fucking actually squaring away your life, dropping the drinks, dropping the drugs, dropping the weed, dropping like all of that bullshit that no longer serves you? What is that big decision in your life that you haven't been making? That's probably the very thing that's holding you back from your next level. And again, do the 1%ers of the world sacrifice the things that are comfortable to them so that way they can self-actualize, so they can get to what they want in life? All the things that you're not sacrificing right now are the very things that are holding you back from your next level. So take the time, think about that shit, because you're worth it. Or I would hope you think you're worth it. Because if you're not, again, fuck off and make room for the people that are actually going to win in this life. But if you're like me, you're probably going to have some real talk after watching this or listening to this. And then you're going to look yourself in the eyes and finally be honest with yourself that you have been dropping the ball, that you have been finding excuses, that you have been a shitbag, that you have been having this sense of entitlement about you. And now you're ready to actually take ownership and say, oh, I accept this is exactly where I'm actually at because of my own fucking doing. And now I need to make a change, a lasting change. Walk up to your kids, walk up to your spouse, hold yourself accountable to somebody. Put it out there into the world. Let them know what you're going to do. Risk it all. Put the money in, put the energy in, put the time in, put everything in, knowing that you're not guaranteed shit. But how much are you worth it? That's what you got to remember.